everybody, it's me. I'm still alive. Week 2 of me having COVID, and I'm here with John Minus. John, I just realized that if you ever got like a Venom, a villain who's your Venom, he'd be John Plus, right?
No, he'd be a very like if no, because I'd be the bad guy, so he'd be like the good guy.
Oh yeah, so you are actually the Venom of some guy named John Plus.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I didn't realize how evil you were. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm an antagonist.
So
I mean,
we're gonna talk today about Empire Strikes Back. I have a lot to say about this movie. I think everyone does. I think there's a podcast made about this movie a day. Um, but before we get into the movie, John, what have you been up to the last 2 months?
literally nothing.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, I went to Vegas for my birthday,
Oh, wow.
and yeah, so that was fun. That was something. That was
Mhm.
at the beginning of the month. But other than that, like I went to see my brother on Thanksgiving. Christmas, I didn't do anything. New Year's, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like I'll be doing anything. But yeah, like I figure, like I went to Vegas. I went to a whole Las Vegas for a weekend and didn't get sick, so I might be immortal.
You might be. I mean, the fact that you haven't gotten COVID yet is wild.
Yeah, and I have like a compromised
Compromise.
immune system,
Yeah.
and plus in Vegas you can still smoke, and cigarette smoke always makes me sick. But the mask, like I don't. The mask really is the best
Hmm.
to protect you. It's the washing your hands, wearing a mask. That's what I attribute it to.
Yeah.
Because like cigarette smoke, secondhand cigarette smoke gives me sinus infections.
Hmm.
But and like I'm walking around, like I see people smoking. I'm like, does anybody see that? And then like my friends like, there's ashtrays. I'm like, it's accepted. Like that's how sheltered I am living in New Jersey.
Well, in New York too, they don't smoke, or in California, they don't smoke.
Yeah, I actually thought people just smoked less. Like I don't see people smoke nearly as much as they used to. So
I'm always surprised. Like I never see anyone smoke, and then when I go out drinking, and I hadn't gone drinking like late night, people bust out the cigarettes when they start drinking late at night in New York.
yeah, I think it's like they go together.
I've never smoked. A lot of my family died of lung cancer, so I'm just like, no, I'd rather just masturbate. So
That's fine.
I mean, not in public, not when I'm drinking at
I
night.
mean, you live in New York, so you
Yeah.
can.
I mean, no, I think like if I did, I'm
It's
gonna go outside and
fine.
masturbate a little bit. That is better for my health and the health of others. Like I'm just gonna ejaculate on a wall somewhere.
Yeah, there's no secondhand jizz.
There's no yes. I'm not. Oh, I got lung cancer. Why? Well, I would hang out with Ray, and he'd be just jerking off after 5 beers, and every time he jizzed, it affected my lungs. Like, no, I mean, even if I came in your mouth, it's better
I
for you
think
than
that might
cigarette.
be the most disgusting thing I've ever said.
But
Secondhand jizz.
secondhand jizz. I got some secondhand jizz. Yeah, but no, I'm just saying that like I know people smoke because they get stressed. When I get stressed, I just jerk off, and then I'm not stressed anymore.
Yeah, I was supposed to I mean, like, I got sick right before I had my stem cell transplant. I got out like 2 or 3 weeks before the quarantine started. So I
Mm,
was already, I'd been home for like a year and a half anyway. I was just like prepared
yeah.
for,
I like being home. This was actually my Christmas. I watched a bunch of things I've never seen. I watched Love Actually, It's a Wonderful Life, and A Christmas Story. I've never seen any of those movies, and It's a Wonderful Life was the best one. Christmas Story is kind of overrated. Love Actually is a weird fucking movie. You ever seen that movie?
no, but I have seen Kingsman
Mm-hmm.
and with my, I saw it with my girlfriend at the time and it just blew her mind. Like she couldn't get over. I'm like, what is it? She couldn't even wait till we got to the car. Like in a parking lot, she's pulling up like videos of Love Actually. She's like, that guy killed all those people. Like that she's
And
just showing me the range, and I'm like, okay, I get it, but like
it's like, yeah,
she couldn't wrap her mind around that guy in Love Actually being that
mhm.
guy in Kingsman.
Love Actually is a weird fucking movie. I expected it to be like a Hallmark movie with like Oscar winners, right? That's what I expected. it is like there's some plots that are like Hallmark movies. There's a plot that's like Euro Trip. There's a plot that's like a little kids movie. Then there's nudity and there's F bombs and it's like a really weird, like it's like you took 9 movies and just mashed them into one. And it's like, how can there be a plot about porn actors and a little kid in the same movie? Like that's just so bizarre because it's like little kids can't see this movie because of all the titties. But there's like this message about learning how to love as a little kid, and I'm like, I don't know who this movie's for, but it's apparently for somebody because a lot of bitches love it. So
that's the key. That's what you aim for.
But it's all over the place. Speaking of all over the place, John, are you into Star Wars? I know I asked you to do Empire Strikes Back because I was lazy and didn't know.
I am not a popular Star Wars fan. Like two Star Wars fans, because I'm 44, so I was born the year the first one came out.
Yeah.
So I always feel a connection to it, but it was never my favorite.
Okay.
Indiana Jones was my favorite.
Oh, okay. Well,
I always thought Indiana Jones was far superior. Because, and I guess it was just me, because since I was born, like I obviously didn't see it the year I was born. I saw it later. I saw it in the 80s, but it just never caught me the way it caught a lot of people in my generation. And I've thought about it a lot over the years. And I think it's just because a lot of Star Wars doesn't have context. It's just told to you. And I'm the kind of person who I need to see.
Well, now it has context.
I love it. I love Star Wars way more now. Because of Clone Wars.
Oh yeah,
the cartoon. Like now I have context for everything. Like in the original, I'm like, why do Obi-Wan and Darth Vader care about each other? Like you just told me, but like now I see like all the crap Anakin and Obi-Wan went through together. Now I'm like, oh, them fighting then is a really big deal. Like I have the emotional context. So right now I'm a huge Star Wars fan. And I can enjoy those the first trilogy more now with what happened before and what happens after, even though what happens after is very mushed together, confusing. I love the cartoons. I love all the cartoons, and I love Mandalorian for bringing stuff from the cartoons into live action.
I think Boba Fett's I didn't watch. I started Boba Fett this morning, and it starts off like in the city from episode 2, the clone city, the one. And I turned it off as soon as it started. I was like, you know what, I gotta eat. Like, I can't sit and watch this right now. But I do think they're bringing in stuff in the cartoons and Boba Fett as well. The Boba Fett show.
Oh yeah, what was I watching? In the Bad Batch. Yeah, and the Bad Batch is all about the clones. And the sucky thing about watching the cartoons is you know what's going to happen. So you get attached to these characters, but in the back of your mind, they're like, they're all gonna die.
Yeah.
They're all gonna die in really sad ways. Like you just and so you're like trying not to get attached, but you know, you can't help it. Like you like certain people, and then you're like, they're all gonna die.
Yeah, no. The Clone Wars really redeems the prequels. It's hard though to get people to watch the Clone Wars because you're like, oh, it redeems the prequels, but you have to also watch 120 episodes.
Yeah,
and it's like it's hard to get like some people like to invest in that. Also, because I think a lot of people don't like the animation style and stuff, you know.
Which blows my mind because I think it's the best animation I've seen.
Yeah, it's a beautiful cartoon. Yeah.
Especially the last season, every scene looks like a painting. Like every frame looks like a painting. Every frame looks like, and they still kept like their skin looks like it has brush strokes on it. So it's beautiful. And then to bring it back to Empire Strikes Back, like it's I think that one grabbed me the most because I had context again, like the first movie. So now I like know what's going on from something I just saw. And I like content. continuity. So then it's like this stuff happened and now this stuff is happening. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
The more continuity and the more context, the more I like Star Wars. So
Yeah.
the first one I was just like, they're like, all this stuff happened, trust us. And I'm like, all right. And then the second was like, all this stuff happened. I'm like, oh yeah, I saw that stuff happen. So okay, now I get what's happening here.
Mm-hmm. I think Empire Strikes Back, I don't think we realize. I grew up just knowing the plot of Empire Strikes Back. I didn't see it until I was I don't know, like maybe like 10 or 11.
Yeah, Star Wars
But
is ubiquitous.
yeah, but I had like all the storybooks and I just knew, I don't know when I knew the twist that's his dad, but I just always kind of knew it, right? Like it like imprinted on me when I was born. I was born in 81. It's a year after Empire Strikes Back comes out. But I really do think that if Empire, I think the reason why everything has changed is if Empire kind of stunk, if it was like a typical 70s movie, which if you read some of the earlier scripts, that very well could have happened, could have been a cheesy 70s movie. I think people would have been like, well, Star Wars was great, but that's it. You know what I mean? But because Empire is so good and nobody expects the twist, at least the kids then, I think that's kind of what made Star Wars where no one's ever going to give up on it, because people remember how they felt when they saw Empire Strikes Back and the feeling they have when they, because you left the first Star Wars. If they had said there's never be a sequel to Star Wars and they just moved on, I don't think people would have freaked out. But when Empire ends, everyone is like, there needs to be another Star Wars right now. We need more we need all the Star Wars. And I think it kind of changed everything, where things are more serialized, where it's everything's now like a universe as opposed to this is just a movie. And I think it's such an important movie in that aspect, that it opened up the world, and now it changed. Not only did it open up the world, but it changed everything you thought you knew about the first two movies.
Yeah, because I mean George Lucas and Steven Spielberg, they read comic books. I mean, they were like serialized stories, but they were comic books. So that's influenced how he made these movies, like comic books. Like there's one story and there's another story in there, but each one is their story, but they're connected, and nobody had done that before.
Yeah.
So that hooks you into the next movie, and that hooks you into the next movie.
Yeah, and then the other thing too is I think I would have loved to have experienced "No, I Am Your Father" in the theater with other let's say I was 14 with other 14-year-olds, right? I mean, now I'd be old as fuck. But what I'm saying is I'd like to be there at 14 experiencing it, because I think that's a huge moment for a lot of people, being in that theater, not knowing what this movie is going to be about, and then him saying that line. And I don't think that's there's no twist they could do in any modern blockbuster that could match that. In No Way Home, if when Norman Osborn showed up, Tom Holland's like, that's my Uncle Ben. Everyone would have been like, Empire Strikes Back. You know what I'm saying? Nobody, there's no twist that you can drop that's as big as that twist,
I mean, for me, the only twist that was as big as that, and this enrages a lot of Star Wars fans my age, which is hilarious, because it's like I'm the same generation as the hardcore, I don't recognize any of the movies. I'm that same generation. Is the third one where Anakin kills a bunch of kids. I feel like if it all went in order, that would have been a bigger shock than him being you would have known he was his father. But I keep likening it to, imagine if in the third Harry Potter movie, he goes and kills a bunch of kids.
I wish he did.
That would blow people's minds. And
well, I still not to derail, I don't really like Harry Potter, but I still can't believe that Voldemort killed the kid in part 4. He kills Robert Patterson. And I guess in the book, the fact that they do kill a kid in the 4th book, I think was kind of because it's a happy-go-lucky series until Voldemort kills that fucking kid.
Yeah, it gets dark fast, but he's a bad guy. the main protagonist of a story for 3.5 movies goes completely evil and stays that way. I can't think of anything else where that happens, like before or since.
Well,
like,
yeah, no, but I think the one thing is we should have been with the kids more. Like you are with the kids a lot in the Clone Wars, but you don't really know these kids. If these kids had been like, if there had been like a Ron and Hermione who were kind of tagging along with Luke, and then he kills them, that would have been fucking insane. But we don't know the kids. We don't actually see him kill the kids. So it's like this guy went from I love Padme to I'm gonna go murder some children.
Yeah, and it seems out of nowhere, which is why a lot of people didn't like it. But then, like again, when you watch the Clone Wars, you're like, oh, this has been happening since he was a little kid. They've been grooming him forever, so he never had a chance. And then it gets into all this other stuff. So like that I knew he turns into Vader, so I knew something happened. But like the genocide he commits just was way over the like I just did not see that coming. I was like, oh, he's gonna let them go, right? And it's like
they just fucking
slaughters and then Rogue One, I think, did the most for Star Wars as a movie than anything else. Because Rogue One was a dark ass movie.
Well, yeah, Rogue One we finally had a scene where Darth Vader just goes batshit.
Yeah.
And I think we needed that for years at this point.
Because like I never thought, like people were like, Darth Vader's so scary. I'm like, why? He never does anything personally bad in the movies.
Yeah.
Like he tells people to fire the laser, but he doesn't fire the laser. It wasn't his idea. Like none of the bad things that happen are his idea, and you don't see them doing it. So I was like, Although like, his voice, I'm like, oh, he's a black guy. Yeah, I've heard people like that before. Maybe this is scary to you, but
this black voice is scary. Yeah, like a black man in charge of the galaxy.
That I'm almost certain that was it. I'm almost certain that's why a lot of fans were scared of Vader.
Yeah,
because
I can't believe a black guy is actually running things. Oh my god. The black guy's in charge of the British guys. What are we gonna do?
Exactly. I'm almost certain that was
podcast. I did like Vader in this movie though. This movie he is more of a leader. He's kind of like a sidekick, like in Star Wars. But in Empire Strikes Back, the scene where he chokes out the one guy while he's promoting the other guy is still like one of my favorite villain scenes of all time.
The first joke is great.
And he's like kind of being funny during it, but not really. Like you can tell he's having fun doing this, but he's not also not like you just tell everyone's like, oh my god, if we fuck up, this guy's gonna do this to us. And it's like, I mean, I don't even think they're on the same ship, right? He's just doing it through his Zoom call.
Yeah. My favorite comment on that is like, hey, maybe don't insult your boss's religion in a team meeting.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Like shit. I still never get how they completely forgot about the Jedi. It would be like us forgetting about 9/11.
Or like forgetting that cops existed. Like let's say like I don't know, like all the cops were outlawed, and then like 9 years later, we're like, what's that? A cop? I never heard of that. Like, wait, cops aren't real.
That's really honestly my biggest problem with Star Wars. Like, any of it is just how they completely forgot. And like even in here, like without any of the other stuff, it's like he's still alive. That's in his lifetime. It can't have been that long ago.
Yeah, and like they were, it would be one thing if like they took to the shadows. Like that's kind of what I had in my head. Well, they probably took to the shadows, and also like fucking Darth Vader must be 100, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but no, it's only been like 16, 17 years.
Yeah.
And also like, we don't know about Rebels. By the way, they didn't do a great job exterminating the Jedis. When you watch Rebels, you're like, wow, they really missed a lot of you. Like, and then there's that Fallen Order video game where they missed another one. It's like, who exactly did you guys kill?
It's a big galaxy.
It is a big galaxy.
That
But
also was like the moment I came closest to crying in a movie when they were like murdering all those Jedi. I was like, this is awful. Like this is bad.
yeah.
But like Empire Strikes Back is like that movie for the first three where everything goes to shit. And that's actually
Mhm.
where I learned that, like, rule of three, like in this second act, this is the second act of, the bigger story, everything
Yeah.
has to go bad.
Mhm.
And in this movie, everything goes bad.
Everything does go big, starting with Hoth. What do you
Yeah.
think of the scenes in Hoth? That's probably my favorite part of the movies. All the stuff with
Yeah.
Hoth.
I mean, people love AT-ATs. It was, and like, as time goes on, I realize how impractical they are, but they're still cool.
What's that?
How impractical they are, but they're still cool.
Oh, you
AT-ATs.
the AT-ATs. Okay, I always call them AT-ATs. Okay, all right. Yeah, they are very impractical, but they do look awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this scene like informs a lot of the visuals for the rest of the movies, like the big white open space, the like it's just it's visually awesome.
You
Like
know
these
what's
guys
fun?
are flying into lasers.
You know what's funny to me? I kind of feel like the Death Star attack in the first movie, they've recreated that time and time again in the other movies. Like they've constantly had scenes where we got 10 minutes to blow up the Empire's big thing, or we're all gonna die, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they never though recreated or tried to replicate the Battle of Hoth. They've never like because the Battle of Hoth, it's like you're on this field and there's two forces, and if you get out of your ship, you're not gonna die. You could run around. The closest they kind of came to it, they didn't really commit to it, was Last Jedi on the Red Sand planet.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
That was beautiful, and it also had AT-ATs. But it had like the souped up ones that were even bigger and had better armor. That's one of my favorite scenes in Star Wars too, and also features Luke.
Mm-hmm.
Like just like this one, but Luke is like little kid Luke in this. It's like I can do it.
I love the battle. I love the fact that his friend dies. It's like I love
Yeah,
the fact that like they just brutally would murder like all the sidekicks in these movies. Like I'm ready to take on the world. Dead. Yeah, that's kind of the whole thing in the movie. We can take on the world, and the world just fucking crushes you. And also, your dad's a cunt.
that's an important lesson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it really is. But I love the Battle of Hoth. I think the Battle of Hoth is one of the greatest battle sequences in film history. I mean, it holds up, and I'm wondering why they never went back to Hoth. They go to Tatooine all the time. They go to Tatooine to have lunch in some of these newer movies. They never go back to Hoth, and to me, it's like Hoth is so cool. There's so much you can do with a nice planet.
Well, it looks really shitty. Who wants to who wants to live there?
Well, I mean, I don't. They might have
Except
to
for
go
like
there to.
Norwegians.
It just, but I mean, like we've had enough of the. That was the cool thing. Like Star Wars, you're in a desert. Empire Strikes Back starts off. You're in the Arctic. It's completely the opposite. And now they might, he might. By the way, does he shove Luke into the dead animal? Or does he take the dead animal's entrails and put it on top of Luke to keep him warm? I always thought until I rewatched yesterday that he shoves Luke into the dead animal.
I thought they crawled in.
They both go into the dead animal?
That's what I thought.
Does that work? Like if I'm like in the cold and I have like a horse, I could just fucking murder it and hide in its body, or
I mean, yeah, it takes a long time for body heat to dissipate.
but it might smell though after a while. Sleeping inside my dead horse.
Yeah, wait. I'm looking at it. Does he?
He takes
They smell bad on the outside.
Yeah, but like he takes the entrails, and what is I don't know, I got confused. I'm still confused how they made it. I guess they both sleep inside of a court. I don't know. That's another weird thing to start. Like they started off with the two heroes just like massacring, and well, the animal's already dead, but they mutilate the body and they just go inside.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This actually, my takeaway from this was that a non-Jedi could use a lightsaber because I didn't know that.
Well,
I
yeah,
thought
but
like,
he's kind of like this is before they had the rules. I mean, if this was today, they'd be like, "Oh no, I don't know how to use this." Like,
yeah,
mhm.
yeah, I didn't realize that anybody could just turn it on and off. Like,
Well, there's a button, so you just hit it.
yeah, there's a like I don't know, I didn't realize that. I
I
thought
mean,
it came from the Force.
I
But
mean,
you
you
kind of
kind of
need the
have to.
Force to use it properly without chopping your own arm off.
Well, I don't think Han could like if Darth Vader showed up. I don't think Han could have fought him. I think
No,
Han.
he just waved it vaguely at the thing, and it's so like, yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, like if you need to like cut some cheese and the only thing you have is a lightsaber, I mean, you know,
I
I don't.
think he shoves him in.
He does, but how does Han?
You
Oh
don't
yeah,
see it.
yeah.
I
He
think he
he says a
shoves him
line.
in.
I'm gonna put you in until I build shelter. So he builds like a tent
Yeah.
to put them both in, and then they, I guess, then they make it. Um, do
Yeah.
you think
He
I
shoves him
still?
in.
Do you think? Do you think George had in his head that Leah was gonna be? I actually no. But do you think George really had in his head that Leah was his sister in this movie with that makeout scene at the beginning, where Leah and Luke kiss, and Luke is like, "Yeah, I got me some." Do you think he really did know that they're gonna be brother and sister? I don't think he knew. I don't think he knew yet.
Well, I just like looked up some stuff because I wanted to just be sure about who did what. I did not know he didn't direct this.
Oh, you didn't know that?
No.
I'll take you. I gotta take away your nerd card, brother.
I told you I'm not a Star Wars guy
Yeah, but I even knew
until
that.
like
Like,
very recently.
it's very. It's just I don't know. It
And
just
that
kind of
guy's
like
never mentioned. He's never mentioned.
it's very ingrained in my head that he didn't direct those two. Just based on being a kid going around. I don't know. I just thought it was like one of those things like who's the president is like that he didn't direct.
I did not know he didn't direct them. I think I always thought like I also thought that Steven Spielberg was way more involved in these.
I think he was more involved in the prequels. Francis Ford Coppola, I think, gave Francis Ford Coppola consulted a lot in the prequels, and he was the one who gave the idea for I think for sorry, Anakin to kill the kids. Because he's like, you gotta really do something.
That makes sense. I don't feel like George would go that far.
Yeah, unless he's told like you gotta, And I agree, it's the smart play. Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta murder some children. So
Because my thought was always that George could do the overarching story, but he couldn't do the characters.
yeah, I think he knew that. I think he didn't. I think he knew like there's gonna be this adventurer and there's gonna be a secret about the dad. There is a draft, the first draft by Lee Brackett, who gets a story credit. They did it on this pod. I don't think I think Darth Vader is not his dad at the end of it. I think Darth Vader's thing is like, your dad was a dick like me. You should join. Or like the big twist is like the dad was also not a good Jedi, and Obi-Wan hid it from him. So like it wasn't always going to be his dad, but I do think there was going to be like this temptation thing with Luke. It's fascinating to like learn about uh Empire because they didn't make any. There were no rules yet. There were like now there's rules. Like now you can't like if I'm writing Mandalorian season 3, I can't have Luke like fucking just jam a lightsaber up Ahsoka Tano's ass. But like back then you could back, you know what I mean? Like people would like fucking there'd be protests. You could do whatever you want. And when you were writing the original, like Han's dad was in charge of the Thieves Guild in the original draft, and they have to go to him instead of Londo. And the dad betrayed. Like there's all these things, and now you can't really do that. You have very rigid rules on how everyone.
Yeah, I mean, once you set it down in stone and there's continuity,
Mm-hmm.
You can't break continuity, which is like continuity is a big deal with me. Like
Me too.
If shows break their internal consistency, that really bothers me. So it's like if you establish something, even if it's dumb, you established it, so you have to stick to it.
People don't like continuity, especially between. I like continuity. I like when things all line up. I like when after I watched Clone Wars and I rewatched Rogue One. I like that Forrest Whitaker is now old and bitter, and when you know what I mean. I like the
Yeah,
fact that I saw this guy's journey go from like this optimistic, basically like almost like a Antifa guy into like a bitter, like miserable, almost like just as bad as Vader, a broken man. I like
mhm.
that. I like seeing that. Like if nobody from the Clone Wars shows up in the movies, it's like that's stupid. I like it, and I think most people like it too. I don't. There's a lot of people like, oh, continuity. We should be bogged down by continuity. Fuck that. It's not
Yeah,
bogging down. It's the world.
yeah, it's the same story. It's like people say that about Marvel. They're like, "Oh, do I have to see?" Like, somebody people say like they love how Marvel doesn't give a fuck if you saw the other movies. They're not explaining it. Like, it. Somebody was like, if you watch Shang-Chi, you're like, "Oh, well, how do you know this happened?" It's like, do your damn homework. They don't give a
Yeah.
fuck if they're not explaining it. If you
Yeah, if you
don't,
go into No Way Home and you're like, why are there three Spider-Men? It's like that's on you. Like you
yeah.
should have.
Yeah, these movies require homework. Or
Yeah.
you could just say, I'm sure this happened some other place. Like you don't have to like my whole thing was when they made the animated Clone Wars. I can't say anime because they were both animated, but like the Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were amazing.
I
And
still haven't watched those. I know they're on Disney Plus, but I still never
well,
watched them.
they were canon for a while, and then they said no, they aren't. Because
Well, I think Luke back then Lucas could take anything you want out of canon because.
between the first two movies, Anakin has a different arm. He has
Mhm.
one arm in the first movie, he has a completely different arm in the second movie. In between those Clone Wars, it shows why he has a different arm. And
Mhm.
it's the arm in the cartoon is the same one he has in the movie. So it was canon,
It
but
was, yeah, it was. And then he wanted to make a whole series. I don't think he wanted to be beholden to those cartoons, so then they weren't. I still think the Ewoks movies. I count the Ewoks movies, the Ewok TV shows, and the Droid TV shows, and this holiday special. I think are canon. I consider them canon. When I did my big Star Wars rewatch, I put them in, and Droids does work. If you the ending of Revenge of the Sith,
Mhm.
Droids works, and in fact, I don't know if you saw, but in Rebels, because they were passed from owner to owner on droids. The last owner in droids shows up in Rebels and gives the droids um to Leah's dad. So droids is in continuity.
Good,
You know,
good. I appreciate that. I like the Lego Star Wars.
I've never seen those. Are those in continuity?
Um, they're more like parodies.
Okay,
Like
I figured.
they take stuff from the movies and they make fun of it. Like they make fun of the inconsistent, like the stuff people joke about. Like they joke about it, like all the
Mm-hmm.
inconsistencies and stuff like that. The foreshadowing. They're to me they are hilarious. They are really really funny because they like break the third wall a lot, fourth wall. Um, they reference stuff that didn't happen yet. Like sometimes like Vader kept popping up in scenes where he wasn't supposed to be, and George Lucas, the little Lego figure of George Lucas would come and usher him out of the scene.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a George Lucas minifig that is they're just really funny because yeah. And then the holiday special was kind of like Endgame for all the Star Wars because they refer to stuff through all of the movies, and they actually make Ray more likable. Oddly, I don't know. They just fix everything. It seems like they have to fix everything in post production. With the
That's basically what these animated shows are.
yeah,
Getting back to Empire Strikes Back, what did you think of the love story beat with Leah and Han?
I mean it's not. I mean it's a classic will they won't they enemies to lovers
Mm-hmm.
things, but it was a long time ago. So it was. I mean not that trope is new in the 70s, but you know it's one of the things you have in a good movie in a effective movie.
Yeah.
You know, they hate each other, then they go to love each other, and I mean, it is. And then he's like, "Oh, well, I thought you and Luke," and she's like, "No, he's my brother." Yeah, that
Well, they
was a
don't say
little.
that. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
you
yeah.
just spoiled the ending of the greatest.
It's a little Game of Thronesy, but it's fine. It's fine.
Well, yeah, it is a little games. Yeah, I like the love story. I like Han. I think still one of the best moments between a couple in a movie is "I love you, I know."
Yeah,
It's just such a fucking like he's still kind of like just such a man. It's just a moment like that's what a man would say. You know, like a
yeah.
man
Not I
saying,
love you back.
"I love you too," or "You're the best." It's just like, yeah, I know. Now I'm gonna go die. Sorry, I'll see you now. You know, you should have
they
fucked me.
they yeah, it's also there aren't many women in the universe, so you kind of got to lock down the ones you meet.
That's true. Well, we didn't know this, but he did have he could have went back and fucked the mother of dragons. We didn't know that at the time. So I mean, he still had a shot with the mother of dragons. So you know.
It was just like and later on, um yeah, like I really don't like things you don't notice at the time, but then like people pointed out, you're like, oh yeah, there aren't many women in the galaxy.
No, no, I think they were called. They're all in hiding from all the girls. Satine from Rebels, Ahsoka Tano. They're all in hiding. You know, they're not
Yeah,
out and about.
which makes you question what the Empire was doing to women.
Well, the Nazis had this plan to basically women were both basically. Let's say the Nazis got the planet, right?
Mhm.
Let's just say like they won World War II, and when we all fell in line. Number one, we wouldn't be doing this podcast. No offense. We both be dead, but or not born. But the thing they were going to turn women into basically breeding creatures. So men would live free, and women would eventually be in pens, and they wouldn't. Women weren't supposed to be attractive or anything. They were just supposed to be there for you to fuck and have a son. So that was a long-term plan for women.
And we know how much George Lucas and Steven Spielberg are obsessed with Nazis.
Well, yeah, that's my thing. When people go like, "I want diversity in Star Wars or with the Empire," because in the new Star Wars game, the main villain is a black Imperial trooper. I'm just like, but they're the Nazis. The Nazis wouldn't have a black woman. In that's like Hitler. Here's my trusted confidant Yolanda. Like, no, Hitler would no, she'd be dead. Hitler would have killed her.
Yeah, yeah, they were. Yeah, I mean, they were just like original Marvel and original DC. They were, written by. I mean, all right.
But just you can't the
If
fastest
you say
guys
like they
based
were
on
written
Nazis
by
be
Jews,
diverse.
you start sounding like those QAnon people. Like
Who?
they're Jews. There was all the Jews, but no, like there was.
I just said like when I saw how diverse the Empire was in the new Star Wars game, like, but that wouldn't happen. Like they're based on Nazis.
Yeah, yeah,
Like I know we want
and British people who were also kind of evil.
British people. Yeah, well they're just not. Yeah, but yeah, well British Nazis. So there you go.
Yeah, British Nazis.
I
But yeah,
mean,
yeah, it's the Empire, and the Empire is just like they're everywhere. So there's no women around. They're scared. So he manages to find a princess with a
yeah.
bad attitude.
I mean, she has money. Well, no, she doesn't have money because all her bank account, her bank exploded. So
Yeah, along with the rest of the planet.
yeah, I guess she's broke. But yeah, that's true. She's not a princess anymore. Like if your kingdom vanishes into Leia, it was nice they kept calling her Princess Leia. At that point, I take it as are you just making fun of me because my kingdom grew less? What am I the
Hey,
princess?
Oh wait.
Oh wait, yeah, everything. The royal lineage died. Never mind. Technically, shouldn't she be Queen Leia? Because the king died.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, she was adopted into royalty anyway, so
Yeah, well, I mean, she's the princess of our hearts. So
yeah, yeah. Everybody loved Leah, and she wasn't like a normal. like she wasn't a damsel in distress. Like, yeah, she got kidnapped, but she wasn't just there.
But I mean, they all got kidnapped at the
Yeah,
end of
they
the
all
movie.
got kidnapped.
It
She
was an
wasn't
equal
there. She
opportunity
had
kidnapping.
agency.
And Han got the worst of it. Leia didn't get the worst. Leia was treated very nicely.
I was just thinking about that the other day, how he comes out of it, and they're like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "They didn't even ask me anything."
Yeah, they just felt like torturing me because I'm a dick.
I'm like, okay, that's evil, but again, that was a Vader.
Mm-hmm.
No,
By the way,
he did tell them to torture him, though.
Let's talk about how insane, and this just goes to show you how great the design was. Boba Fett has been the most popular character. Okay, I don't know if you realize this, but they put the toy a year out before the movie. Like the toy came out first. Like you had to order the toy specially to get it for Christmas from JCPenney. That was how big the hype for this movie was. But Boba Fett has been like the most popular Star Wars character for 40 years, and he only did something a year ago. He doesn't do anything in this movie.
No, my one friend, when I was like, "Oh man, Boba Fett," she was like, "Who's that?" I'm like, "What do you mean, who's that? I thought you were a Star Wars fan." She's like, "Yeah, who's Boba Fett?" And when I went back and watched, I'm like, he really isn't in these movies very long.
No.
And it just turned me around on that. I'm like, you could really, it's not ridiculous to say who's Boba Fett. He could just, like, I could see you saying, like, yeah, who's just another bounty hunter.
If you took Boba Fett out of Empire Strikes Back and just put any other character, it'd be the same movie. But I think the hype was more from the merchandise angle. Like the hype was like that was the first toy. You didn't know what he was gonna do. So you're like, is this like the new Han Solo? Is this like the secret? I mean, there were all these theories that sound exciting, like he's actually the real Jedi. When they said no, there's another, I think people in the theater were sitting there being like, maybe he'll fight Vader, like join me, Luke. No, then Boba Fett comes in. I'm actually Luke's dad. Oh, look at me, my jetpack. Like everyone had these cool theories, and he wound up just doing nothing.
Yeah. But if you're not like in that zone or whatever, it's just another guy. And like I had to give it to her. I was like, you know what, you're right. If you're not like a fanboy, he's just another guy.
Yeah, and it was so satisfying a year ago. And I don't know how older fans feel, but it was so satisfying a year ago to finally have him do something. Like to have him come out and like actually fight, and for them to be like, yeah, you are Mandalorian. It's like, oh, finally this guy's gonna do something. I mean, it's been so long.
Yeah, especially like you at like at that point, if you watch the other stuff, there's so much backstory about Mandalore.
Yeah, and he
the entire last season of Clone Wars was about Mandalore.
Mm-hmm.
Rebels was about Mandalorians. Like, so you have all this context, and it's like, oh, now I see why they're so good at fighting Jedi. They don't like Jedi. So it's like, oh, that's why, Boba Fett was so good at fighting Luke.
Yeah. But it is nice to finally have Boba on a series. I haven't watched the show yet, like I said, but it is nice to have him. I'll tell you who wound up doing more, and you couldn't have predicted this in 1980, is Yoda. What did you think? I think this is the best Yoda looks, and my favorite Yoda. Still to this day, they've never beaten this Yoda. What do you think?
Well, it's because like I think people now just appreciate practical effects more.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why, because that was a big reason people didn't like the first one, was because there were no practical effects. It was almost all CG, and this was all practical effects. So the one thing, you're just impressed by the ability to do it, and then it looks better because people are focusing on the real thing that's there, not like a tennis ball or whatever.
Yeah, and then like when I was younger, the summer of 2002, when Yoda did the fight scene, I was like, yeah. But now looking back, I'm like,
no, I like a lot of
this is an audio only podcast. I'm just like, I like him better in this. I like the air mystery. What could this guy do? And all he does in the original trilogy is lift the X-wing, and that's really all you need to do. Like I know this guy could be a badass. I don't need to see him, doing Circus Olay.
Yeah, that's what some people like. I like a lot of people who are like, yeah, those movies, but like, I remember how people were in that theater. They
People were
lost
going
their,
nuts.
yeah,
No one expected
that. Yeah, and
that. And
that's what like, oh,
and I don't know if you remember, but the commercials for the DVD, when the DVD came out, the commercials were just like, watch Yoda go fucking insane. Like it wasn't like Attack of the Clones now on DVD, one of the greatest stories. It was like Yoda is out of control. You need to buy this DVD. That was I don't know if you remember that commercial back in 02.
yeah.
Yeah, it was basically about how Yoda is a fucking lunatic. It wasn't like, oh, come see it was like, watch Yoda go nuts. But I don't know. Looking back, I'm like, I kind of wish they didn't go down that road. It just doesn't. It's not. I don't know. It just doesn't. Like, it's goofy now. It's goofy.
Yeah, I mean he was really old, and
Yeah.
I guess like your ability with the force increases as you get older, but your like ability to affect the world gets, I don't know. But yeah, and then they were like, who's Yoda? He's like he's jerking him around.
Mm-hmm.
and they kept doing that in their later movies too. Like Yoda's just jerking him around, he's fucking with him. He won't give him a straight answer.
By the way,
so frustrating to Luke.
By the way, speaking
like,
of Yoda,
everybody's in danger. I need to get stronger. He's like, Yoda, I don't know him.
Yeah. The galaxy's in trouble. Do you know Yoda? I've never heard of this Yoda. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, dude. Oh wait, actually, I'm Yoda, but you're not ready. So I guess the galaxy's just gonna die. Fuck you. Did you know? I didn't know this, but apparently now this is a huge thing, and I didn't know this. My cousin is like a major Disneyland addict, where she has like the pass, and there's people like this. But people and her friend had people will take Baby Yoda around the park, like their baby Yoda doll, and take pictures of Baby Yoda places, and it's like their pet. And I didn't realize that was going on, and I feel bad for the original Yoda that he's been. I mean, isn't that weird? Like that's the whole thing you do on social media. Like here's me and Baby Yoda at the teacups. I don't know.
Well, I mean, babies. People like babies.
All right, but it's not a real baby. It's a doll. It's a Jedi Master.
Show him some goddamn respect.
Yeah, why is he the teacups? That's not what a Jedi does. God. Jedi does not ride the teacups. That needs to be in the next Star Wars movie.
I mean, at least like the legacy is still there.
Well, yeah. Well, people, yeah. I mean, obviously, people love
it. And yeah, and it's good. I mean, like the brand is strong.
Like the Force.
Yeah. It's like the Force. The brand is strong. Like people may not know. Yeah, people may not know who Boba Fett is, but now a bunch of new people are going to find out who Boba Fett is.
I gotta say, the end of the movie when it's Luke and Darth Vader's final fight, and the shaft that Luke falls down. I don't usually get like this with movies, especially older movies, but I do get vertigo and nervous looking at that shaft. Like that is a big shaft, and even when he's hanging off the thing, like
yeah,
it's done so well. What's your opinion on that final battle in the fall?
Yeah, and again, like it's like practical effects. There's no CGI, so well, not as much CGI. I'm sure they didn't dangle him off a cliff.
I heard they did. They were like, if you die, you die. You don't have that much of a career anyway.
I did see that a lot of people did actually get hurt during this movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's the first like real lightsaber battle, and like my whole thing. The only thing I liked about Star Wars for a long time was like get in the plane or pull out the lightsabers. Like everything else in between. So yeah, this is my favorite part, and you just see like the difference between a Sith and a Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Like how much, like I've talked with people about the storytelling of a fight. And a
Mhm.
lot of people are like, "Oh, I just tune out when there's a fight scene." I'm like, "No, there's so much
Where it's Star Wars or in movies in general?
in movies in general."
That's
Like
weird.
mostly talking about like the Marvel movies, like people like well, mostly women, but some people like tune out during the fight scenes. I'm like, do you know how much effort and like they're impressive and they show emotions like in a fight scene, and you can see like the like Luke's doesn't really want to fight him. I mean, actually, he knows he's fighting him as hard as he can, but he's clearly outmatched.
Yeah, he kind of knows it halfway through. Yeah, but he's
Yeah,
fucking.
he's clearly outmatched, and you're afraid for him. You're terrified for him, and yeah, and like Vader's just like whacking him around. And Vader knows it's his kid. He's still whacking him around.
Yeah, he's kind of letting him know, like, you don't have a shot, kid, so you better just fucking be my little bitch boy and let's move
Yeah, there's a
on.
lot of storytelling in that fight without words, and and yeah, when he cuts his arm off, that's another. Oh my god, like it's like an escalation in violence. That's
Mm-hmm.
always a big thing in a movie, and there's no blood, because they didn't want to show blood, but also you say, well, it's a lightsaber. It cauterizes the wound. It's fine.
Yes, it does do that. Yes.
Yeah, so there's no blood,
If I
but
was gonna get my arm chopped off, I'd want it to be with a lightsaber.
yeah, it hurts. It probably hurts immediately.
I would imagine it does. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But the thing about it is that, like, at least, like, you don't have blood. You can go right. You can get it, wrap it up right away, and move on with your day. Right?
Yeah. Um it yeah, and then there's like the theme the theme of people losing arms. That's where it starts.
It is all over the place.
Like, and then he does it, and yeah, and then he's like, the
Does
weird thing
anyone
where
lose their
people,
arm in the new trilogy, in the Ray trilogy?
huh?
Does
I'm
anyone
sure
lose their hand?
somebody does. I can't remember, but I'm sure somebody does.
Okay. Is
But
it
like,
fucking the little? Is it fucking the guy from Girls? Is it him? I
I
can't
have
remember.
to check actually. I do not remember, but somebody has to lose an arm. It's tradition.
It's tradition. Hey, we're gonna have to chop your arm off. It's tradition.
Yeah, and another thing people complain about, like, oh, Ray gained her powers too fast. Luke gained his powers really fast too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like all of a sudden he's like jumping around. He's jumping like doing his super jumps, and like he shouldn't be able to hold a candle to Vader at this point.
Yeah. No. He does get his powers really fast.
Like
Yeah,
he
he did
does
that.
lose pretty badly, but the fact that he even lasts as long as he
Yeah.
does, like,
Well, also, I don't think, but I also have to say, like, so Darth Vader knows this is kid. He's like, all right, I'm gonna smack my kid around,
yeah.
and then I'm gonna say, listen, I could kill you, bitch,
Oh
but
yeah,
I'm
you
not
think he
like
was like
that.
pulling his punches?
Yeah, like I want you to help me because he probably knows, like, all right, this is my kid. He's gonna be good, so maybe I can train him, and he'll be such a badass, and I'll be such a badass. We can just fucking, you know, whoop the emperor's ass, whoop everyone's ass, and
Do you
make
think he knew
things.
he was training his replacement
I, you know,
without the other movies? Like, do you think, like, just in the context of these three movies, did you think he knew he was training his replacement, or did he not? Because it seems like he didn't know until the
I
Empire,
think
until that
Darth
fight.
was never fully. I think if Luke went, all right, let's do this. I think that if Luke and Darth went and killed the Emperor, and then Darth started training Luke, I don't think Darth ever would have turned on Luke. Or I think Darth, as long as Luke, I think if Luke was like, Dad, I love you, like I'm so happy that we connected on the dark side. I don't.
Yeah, let's do some genocide.
Yeah, like, Dad, it's so great that we got so close. Like, it really means a lot to me. I think Darth would have been like, I'm proud of you, Luke. And I'm so happy that you just fucking, I don't know, murdered all your friends. I'm really proud of you. If I can't say Luke, because once you go to the dark side, you're the dark side. I can't say Luke would have turned on Darth, But I think like Darth would have been like, wait a minute, why do we have to do this two rule of two thing and we turn on each other? Like, I love you, you're my son, you love me, I'm your dad. Let's start an army to like kind of like have order on the galaxy. So I don't think Darth was ever 1,000% on the dark side, no matter how evil he was. I think he would have turned for Padme or Luke. But if Luke was resisting and Luke didn't win the battle with the Emperor, I think eventually Darth would have. I also don't think Darth would have ever killed Luke. That's what I'm saying is I think he has a real soft spot in his heart for Luke.
Yeah. Because I think the whole, the whole reason he wanted Luke to turn was because he thought Luke was going to be stronger.
No, I think he really did want to rule the galaxy together.
Who, the Emperor?
No. Well, no. Well, the Emperor wants Luke to turn because the Emperor wants Luke to kill Darth and then be his new apprentice, and then they can kill everyone.
But I don't know if that's established in these movies.
Well, it's established as eventually, but I think from what I'm seeing in this movie, I think the Emperor is like, all right, they didn't establish the rule of two yet when they made this movie. So I think with the Emperor in this movie, he's like, all right, I'm gonna get two fucking Jedis that, and then we'll just completely squash the rebellion and things will be chill. And then eventually I'll replace Darth with this younger model because Darth is getting old and he's fucking weird.
So
but I think Darth's plan was we'll get rid of the Emperor and we'll just do things together. Now, I don't know if Luke went to the dark side, would Luke have been able to resist the urge to kill his father and he take the galaxy all for himself? I don't know. We'll never know. But he was strong enough to resist the urge to just not turn evil, and he turned his dad good. So
yeah, because he did want to murder. He did want to kill all of them, and they do a really good job of showing well, that's the next movie, but I think he does show, like, even in this one, they do a good job of showing his ambiguity behind a mask.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like he seems ambiguous about fighting Luke in this one, and you can even tell with him having a mask on. Like, that's pretty good.
Yeah, no, that is, especially because it's just with James Earl Jones' voice and this tall British guy's acting. Have you ever heard like the real? Because they do have that guy's talk on set. Have you ever heard the real voice, Darth Vader?
No, but I've seen enough American actors. I mean, I've seen enough British actors with their American accent and their real accent that I can.
Well, he just talks in his real voice, and he just kind of goes like, because he's trying to be evil. It's really funny. It like completely like ruins the whole, like, if it was like, if that it like the opening scene of Star Wars you can hear with the guy's real voice, because the guy, this is the rebel thing with you. It's like, who the fuck? It's like really funny. His real voice.
My favorite example of that is Adele, because Adele sings like an old black jazz singer, but then her speaking voice, she sounds like a chimney sweep from like Mary Poppins. Yeah, she totally sounds like, hey, Gov, like she's.
That is a lot of like British singers. They do master the Motown.
They
sound.
Sing in American and they talk in British. It's really weird.
It is kind of weird, yeah. So, but hey, it is what it is. But overall, I gotta say, Empire Strikes Back still holds up.
Yeah, I do think a lot of watching the lightsaber scene now, and they were really going at each other.
Yeah, they really are. Well, I think
they were all like home run swings. They weren't like they weren't love taps.
No, but I think he was trying to let him know, like, I can fuck you up whenever I want. You should join, bitch. I think it still holds up, and it's one of my favorites. And I think it's very important. I think this is where the obsession begins. I think Star Wars would have always had a special place in everyone's heart if it was just Star Wars. I think even if Empire Strikes Back was a big piece of shit and they fucked it up, it would have, and even if Part 3 was a big piece of shit, I think the first one always still would have stood tall. But where this became, I think, a lifelong obsession for people was this movie. And I think everyone always has in their head, if they can do two of them this good, they can do that again. But they've never done it again. And we're going to die alone. So yeah, I'm glad you agree on that.
Yeah.
John, where can people find you on social media?
My Instagram is what is my Instagram? It's exit_11, the word, not the number. My Twitter is at Don Coyote, like the animal, Don Coyote.
Or this explorer.
Huh?
There was an explorer named Don Coyote.
He was Don Quixote.
Oh yes, that's right, with the Q.
There was a Hanna-Barbera show called Don Coyote, where it was Don Quixote, but he was a coyote. I'm almost certain I'm the only one who knows that. His sidekick was Sancho Panda because he was a panda.
I did know about Sancho Panda something. He has stood the test of time.
I am a writer and I am trying to get I have 2 pilots written and I'm trying to get them made. So I'm writing samples, stuff like that. I'm trying to find actors to write monologues for. So
hey,
do it now.
You're blowing up.
Well, I have the
he's like, well,
I have the pieces to blow up. I have the pieces for the bomb. They're not assembled.
Well, there you go. Well, Avengers Assemble. There you go.
Yes.
Guys, if you enjoyed this podcast, check out the archives. We've done every Spider-Man film, Star Wars, and the holiday special, which was a great podcast. And we also have done all the Disney animated films and the Pixar films. I'll be back next week. Return of the Jedi. Subscribe to the podcast. Gootz isn't fuck up the name of my own podcast. Pod. And follow me on Twitter and Instagram, Ray Gootz. And next week, gonna be huge. Return of the Jedi. We're finishing up the original trilogy. John, thank you so much for help me take a look back at Empire Strikes Back.
No problem. It was fun.
It was fun time. And you'll be back. I think that season after this, I'm doing X-Men. So maybe you come back for that.
Yep. I'm here.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. See you next week, guys, for Return of the Jedi.